So, sure, yeah. I mean, if you yourself don't feel comfortable building the pineapple pizza fan site, um, you could be like, hey, there's this guy over there. They're all about the pineapple on pizza, and
Yeah.
they'd be happy to build you a website.
Behavior like that is bullying. And that's like the one thing I think there's always a justification for stopping. I do agree in principle, but the difference there, the huge glaring difference there is consent.
Mm-hmm.
Um, like gay couples consent to be gay couples.
Well, but
So,
the designer has to consent too. Like it's their expression as well.
but
Like we should always be attempting to analyze things and ask ourselves the question, like, am I right or am I wrong about this?
yeah,
Like, is this correct?
what can
That's
feel
evolution.
like values though is bigotry.
Yeah.
Like you can mistake that as a value. And personally, I don't feel comfortable letting people be like, I want to be a dick, so I'm going to say it's my religion and you have to let me. Like,
Mm-hmm.
that's a thing I feel like, is a written down right in our constitution, but not necessarily in my opinion. Like, I
You're
think that's
no,
a pretty lousy reason for being allowed to go be a dick to someone or
you're
kill
right.
someone.
You shouldn't be legally compelled to do something, but maybe compelled from a creative standpoint.
I guarantee you the London Philharmonic isn't like note for note, timbre for timbre, exactly the same as how Beethoven fucking performed it.
Well, none of the people who are performing lived back in Beethoven's
Right.
days. Like they're just looking at the sheet music. Um,
It's a cover song in my eyes,
it
right?
it really is. Yeah.
Yeah. You're a
Oh.
fucking cover band, London Philharmonic. I was thinking like to go all the way back to the religion aspect. It's not even, I mean, it's at best ambiguous what the actual like thoughts on homosexuality are in the Christian religion, because that's what it always comes down to, right? Like Buddhists are never saying this shit.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's always a Judeo-Christian problem that
Yeah, I think like
somebody has with another person.
I think Islam has some issues
I
as
mean,
well.
that's in that Trinity though.
The
Like it's all,
Abrahamic kind of, yeah.
yeah, they're all the same books, just like some have more books than others. It's like
Oh, don't say that. We'll be beheaded. Sleep for that.
yeah. But like I don't feel personally, I don't feel comfortable letting people be like, I want to be a dick, so I'm going to say it's my religion and you have to let me. Like,
Mm-hmm.
that's a thing I feel like, is a written down right in our constitution, but not necessarily in my opinion. Like, I
You're
think that's
no,
a pretty lousy reason for being allowed to go be a dick to someone or
you're
kill
right.
someone.
It's not. The thing is, these aren't like mathematical texts that we're dealing with. They're not algorithmic texts that are clear and understandable by everybody. It's a very vague and ambiguous selection of texts,
Yeah.
and they're personally interpreted by people. And
Well, and then the other layer of that is like we don't know if they were written by just people or if they were actually spoken by a god.
well, and I don't think that even matters at the end of the day. Like,
Not to you or I, but
religion
like,
is a personal thing. Your faith is a personal thing, and I think that should be respected, just like any philosophy or any way of thinking should be respected.
absolutely.
Um,
Like,
but it shouldn't be exclusionary. And
yeah, like practice your faith as much as you want, as long as you're not hurting anyone else. As
mhm.
soon as you start hurting somebody else, I don't give a fuck what your faith says.
Yeah,
That doesn't fly here. Like,
well, exactly. Now, okay,
you're within your rights to say that because someone's initiating force on someone else
and
already.
and you have a point. Now I don't know that refusing to build a website for somebody would be a forceful act. And honestly, I'd have to
That's
say,
true. That's true.
if I were somebody who, well, I'm polyamorous. So if I said, hey, go to a web designer and I'm like, hey, can you build a poly website for all my partners and stuff, like showcase everybody and give everybody a place, like if they didn't like that, if they didn't feel comfortable with that, and there are a lot of people who are non-religious who absolutely detest polyamory,
Oh yeah.
um, would I really want them to build my site? Wouldn't I rather have somebody build like a labor of love that like they
Right.
care about that and want to build the site? Um, like, is it really worth it to force a person to build a thing for you who doesn't really want to? I mean, they're going to do a shitty job. They're just going to go through the motions, right? Like,
Yeah.
oh, okay, well, you got a website. There it is. There's your photos and all the things you wanted. It looks like shit. It's kind of like a 90s website in the 2020s. But oh, it's a fucking website. Like, no, I wouldn't want that. That's awful. Like, so I don't know that compelling people, because it is a creative sort of process. Like even the cake thing. Like, okay, making a cake and decorating a cake is a creative endeavor. It takes skill. You don't just like pop it in the microwave and out comes a cake. That's not how it works. Like
Yeah.
humans have to
Well,
work and slave over this to make this happen, and they're crafting it. So if they're
you and
not
I,
invested in it, do you really want them to be doing it?
you and I are actually a good example of how this should be done. Um, like when we ran a business, we started getting into design, like graphic design and stuff.
Yeah.
And we only had a handful of customers, but I remember, maybe I'm not remembering the details correctly, but I think there was a couple of dudes in like bright colored jogging suits that were like, hey, we'd like some business cards for our escort service.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember that?
I think so.
Something
Yeah.
like that. Yeah. And it's like, well, technically that's probably like somebody we should report for prostitution or blah 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 blah. But it's like we were both like, like whatever, that's
Yeah.
that's a good business idea. Here you go.
Yeah.
And we put effort into it, just as much as we put into like the chiropractor massage guy or whatever,
Oh,
like
the
hand
couple.
drawing this twisted muscle and
Yeah, there were two of them. The
yeah,
woman sold the devices, and the guy was a chiropractor, I think. He
yeah.
did Swedish massage and stuff. It, yeah, like, but we
It's
put
like you
over
can
that.
find somebody that would totally like do what you want the way you want it and like feel the same passion. You know,
And that's
it's
the
out
thing.
there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
if I had a absolute detestation, if that's a word, for pineapple on pizza, and somebody's like, hey, can you make my pineapple pizza website? I'd be
I
like,
never pictured you as one of those guys that was really, really against pineapple pizza.
no, no, I'm not really against anything, but let's say I was. I'd be inclined to be like, hey, I'm not the person you want to do this. But there's these other people over there who totally can. They have the same skills. They're just super into pineapple pizza. Um,
Okay, well, what about this though? What about the consideration of geography? Let's
mhm.
say this is the only web designer in 50 miles, let's say. I mean, like, not impossible to send somebody out to do business or whatever. And let's say this is like before times when you could do things virtually and whatnot with any kind of ease. Like, what do you think then about being like, you know what, you're like kind of the only gig in town. We kind of really want you to like provide this service because it's something they need to thrive and they can't do it themselves, like
That
if it's more of a like a monopoly situation, do you think there should be a little bit more push against that?
I, okay, yes, but societally, not governmentally. You shouldn't be legally compelled to do something, but maybe compelled from a creative standpoint. Like,
Maybe not a web
you know,
design thing, but if it were like selling groceries or something,
cakes.
I would
Well,
say, well, yeah, like you need that to survive. There's
well, yeah, and well, selling groceries, like that's a very easy thing. It doesn't. You don't have to write a phrase on a thing. You don't have to build anything for anybody. You just like take the thing, pass it over the scanner. There's the total. Put your card in and put it in a bag, and there you go.
but
Like,
values/bigotry can be felt so deeply for reasons that you or I may not be able to, you know, calculate as being worth anything, but to them, it's like worth so much. So,
true, but then that
like
comes
passing
back.
their groceries across the barcode scanner could be killing them inside.
Well, and yeah, it could be, but that comes back down to subjectivity. Like,
Mhm.
I think everybody has experienced some kind of bias or bigotry or something in some way, or will at some point. But I don't know that simply because you feel a thing that justifies you bringing down the hammer of the state on somebody because they don't agree with you. Like that just feels wrong somehow, and I can't articulate it, but it feels
Mhm.
wrong.
I
Um,
mean,
because it could go the other way too. You could live in a place where those traits that you're feeling judged on are state sanctioned bad traits, and so hmm, yeah, I
yeah. Um, I mean that's valid, but I don't know. It's kind of like earlier when we talked about medicine. The actual odds of that happening are pretty low. Like,
depending on where you live, though, this
well,
is the thing.
yes, because you know there are a few slippery slopes here and there, sure.
Mhm.
Um, I don't think they're necessarily super deep all the time. Like one thing leads to another, and over time, I guess it's all relative. Something might look really deep, but it might have progressed over a very long time, um, and just been like fate. If we're gonna tie all these together, like we often do, uh, maybe that's how that things are generally just supposed to be trending.
I yeah, in maybe in like the here and now, perhaps. I
You can't really get through life without having to do something you don't want to do. Like in a certain light, it sounds a little bit like pansy, kind of weak to be like, I never want to do something I don't want to do. Like, well, kind of suck it up, Buttercup.
You're
Like,
actually okay, you're onto something there that like you can't evolve if you don't step out of your shell every once in a while and try
let
some
yourself be
different things.
challenged. Yeah.
Yeah. Like and this is the thing. And I don't think we need any government for this. This could be a personal thing, and this is maybe a personal challenge to the religious people, particularly the Christian, Judeo Christian, Abrahamic religion people out there. Like, okay, if your faith is valid, then go ahead and make that same sex couple website for them. Make that cake with two dudes or two chicks on it. Like, go ahead and do it.
Yeah.
Um, you know, like if your faith is strong, like if it's true, everything will bear out in the end. Um, like it's
Exactly.
not going to diminish who you are. It's not going to diminish your beliefs to do something that is a little outside your station.
Yeah.
Um,
It's not even as bad as if somebody stuck a gun to your head and said, kill one of your kids, otherwise we'll kill all the others in your family.
What's happened in the Bible?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. It's like these are things where, like, if you were forced into that situation, you would probably do the thing that kills the least amount of your loved ones, and you
Yeah.
would feel really shitty about it. But you
Mhm.
would expect that your God would be like, well, you were in a kind of like
You were
no
in a pickle.
situation.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're not going to be judged harshly for that. Like if you can understand an actual like hardcore situation like that and then be like, oh, well, God probably won't be pissed at me if I make a cake for gay people or something, like,
Which this is the thing, and I mean this is kind of going all over the place, and I like it. Um, but it does kind of strike me as a bit odd that certain religious people are so averse to doing things like that. Um, because if you believe that God made everybody in God's own image, um, well, then God made gay people. God made people the way they are. Like they made good people and bad people. Like it, why would you? And even I remember when I was a kid reading the Bible and stuff, and I remember passages that said things like, "Oh, don't judge other people, let God judge people." So why judge anybody at all? Why not just live your life and be nice to people, kind to people? If God is kindness, then wouldn't you want to exemplify that, right? Uh,
there there isn't a single devout religious person that isn't a hypocrite.
yeah.
Because if you actually follow everything in the Bible, you will have to contradict yourself.
Especially if you're Christian, where the New Testament, the Old Testament, oh, those two
Mm-hmm.
sides are very contradictory. It's very hard to reconcile the two and feel like, well, this makes sense. Um, yeah, because the New Testament is super hippy dippy, and the
Yeah.
Old Testament is fucking warmonger.
And
Like,
even in the New Testament, there was like the second Jesus
yeah.
that was like Republican Jesus kind of. He was all like, hoard money, y'all.
Mm-hmm.
And then like hippie Jesus that everybody knows was kind of like, give your money away.
Yeah. Exactly.
Share your joints,
Hey,
man.
smoke a bowl, man. Life's good. Hey, YOLO, man.
Share the J.
Is that J for Jesus or J for joints? The world may never know.
What wily joint dank? Oh, what would Jesus do? Uh,
Cobra Man. uh, yeah. Oh my God. Well, this is gonna have to. Well, this is actually kind of become an episode, like a sub episode off the tail of an
but
episode.
I know you said it was good we were doing this as the last topic because it might go long, and I was kind of like, I don't know if it'll go that long. But yeah, it's kind of
Uh,
become its own episode.
yeah, I think we're like half an hour past when this actual episode ended, um, which is awesome. So yeah, I mean, I'd love to hear people's comments. Like, tell your stories, share your stories, give us ideas, what you want to talk about. We will definitely be coming back to quite a few of these because there was some gold in here.
Yeah.
Like really good. Like 5 minutes is absolutely not enough time to talk about everything. This one in particular, like jeez, I
Yeah.
almost feel like we should probably should we bring Randy in to kind of add to this?
Actually, Randy would be a good guest for the fate topic too, because
Yeah,
like myself, he has kind of a an interesting cross the world sort of chance meeting
yeah.
story that's quite entertaining. So, uh,
Well, we'll have to bring him in for both of those,
mhm.
or like, I mean, here's the thing: everybody's welcome on this show to talk about whatever. Like, if you have your own story,
Yeah.
like, let us know. Uh,
Yeah, if you want to come on, got a webcam, maybe a microphone helps.
yeah,
Like it'll be a good show, guaranteed.
yeah. Just DM us or leave something in the comments. Of absolutely throw in a like if you like this episode. This is one of our better episodes. How is it just simply getting better every year? Oh man,
Dang,
yeah.
before you know it, it'll be season 5. Oof.
Holy shit, that's crazy. I was thinking. I know this is kind of an aside, but I think it was this time of year in 2002 when you broke up with your new wife uh, back then and moved in with
It,
me and Melissa
it
at the
was, yeah.
Rogers place. Like, and that,
Yeah, I think our first month there was November.
yep,
Yeah.
yeah. So we're like almost there, and it's 20 years,
20 years. Oh,
20 years since that happened. Holy shit,
damn.
we're still at it. Hmm.
I got married 20 years ago
Yeah.
and divorced 20 years ago.
Yeah, 20, like what was it, 5 days later or something like that?
It was 2 months.
Okay, okay,
Yeah.
all right, that's fair.
Maybe a few extra days, so
Yeah.
like, more than 2 months.
When you're in the like when you're measuring in months, like a few days matter.
Yeah. Or maybe it was a few days less. I can't remember now. Uh,
Well, was that fate too? Um, did the world put us together for some reason?
it's funny. Like in that moment, I thought this is a date I'll never forget when she left me, and I've forgotten it. So for for a long time, I'm sure I remembered that.
Mhm.
Oh, it's been a year. Oh, it's been 2 years. Oh, it's been 3 years. Oh, something else is happening in my life.
Yeah,
Like,
no, none of that matters at all.
yeah,
And that's goes back to everything we were talking about, really. Like, yeah, like it, nothing matters. Like, stop freaking out
Then
about
nothing
things.
else matters.
Nothing else matters. Yeah, stop freaking call beacon. Oh, it's kind of a local thing. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, like,
I mean, things matter in the moment, sure. Like
yeah,
feel what you feel, process it, get through it, but don't hang on forever. Um
gotta let go. Oh, I keep invoking Frozen, and I don't know
Let it
why.
go. Let it go.
it, it's an earworm of a song.
But
Uh,
then people forgot Def Leppard's Let It Go.
yeah.
Let it rock. Let it roll. Let it go. Yeah,
Oh yeah.
that was good shit, man.
Oh hell
That's the
yeah.
better Let It Go.
Well, that's subjective too. Like, which is better? I mean,
Still
it
two-arm
depends.
drumming Def Leppard, so like it rocked.
Okay, they get a lot of points for having a one-armed drummer.
They do, yeah.
That who does that? That's insane. Uh, well, yeah. Whew. I guess that's a pretty good point to end on for now.
Yeah,
We're definitely coming back to that.
doing
Man.
KSM karaoke now.
Just don't just don't put the card down for Aha's Take on Me. Please do not do that.
Oh, we're already demonetized. We should just splice in the karaoke night where I
Yep.
did that song and I got like three girls dancing. Like,
Oh yeah. Oh, that was so good. And you had everybody singing that song, which that is not an easy song to sing. Um, but yet everybody was down with that. And yeah, there were girls dancing all over the place. Oh man. Well, you know how to raise the roof, I guess.
never been afraid of a stage.
Mhm.
Which reminds me, it's almost been a year since my 40th birthday lightning round live on stage.
Yeah.
If people want to go back in the annals of the live channel here on, or the live tab or whatever, you will find uh,
Double live
a double
episode.
live episode.
Yeah. Which
Yeah.
I have always been petrified of a stage. Um,
Uh,
so yeah, standing up in front of people and saying things, terrifying to me. However, that experience showed me, oh yeah, like I could totally do that. And now I kind of want to give a TED talk.
yeah.
Uh, like I might be okay with that. Wait for the upcoming TED talk. Um,
We should do an episode about fear.
yeah, we should also do a TED talk.
We should, yeah.
That'd be
I've
cool.
had a dream of that actually. Like that would be so cool to have a KSM like tour,
Yeah.
really.
Oh man, that'd be awesome.
I was even thinking about like mixing it with Altair, like we do a bunch of Altair songs and then like we play like the Minute Microscopy song and then every like stop on the tour we go back and forth and we just do a little diatribe and then jump back into the Minute Microscopy song and finish it out and like go on with the concert.
Oh man, that'd be so awesome. Oh, that'd be the ultimate TED talk.
Like no band has really done no band has really bridged that like podcast personality and band personality
Yeah,
bridge. Like that would be a cool gimmick.
it would be. And at first people are going to be like, "Who the hell are these guys?" And at the end they'd be like, Oh my God, you're my guru.
Yeah. Have a triple live show. Like we live stream each and every one for free, but you can also pay like 25 bucks to see it in person. You know,
Oh, that'd be awesome.
like
Oh man.
why do we have to charge every single person the privilege to see all this awesomeness? You can
Yeah,
have it for free from bed if you want, you know.
I'm totally on board with that.
Obviously, we'll never work with Ticketmaster.
Oh, fuck no. Oh my God, no. Oh,
Fuck
oh
you,
hell no.
Ticketmaster.
Yeah. Swivel on it, punk.
And if you're even thinking of being anything like Ticketmaster, well, fuck you too.
Oh man. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What
Ticket
is it like?
bastard.
$20,000 for a ticket?
God, yeah.
Like,
Why?
oh
How is this not a lightning round episode, G? Like,
yeah. Well, and this is the thing that like NFTs could solve this overnight. Like
and
it would not be a
scalping
thing.
and all that
Yeah,
shit.
like
Like, oh,
if you use NFTs, problem solved. Like that's it. But we're still using this antiquated system that well, you like paper tickets with a like a number on it, and ooh, look at us, we're so fancy, we have QR codes now. Oh my God, dude, you shouldn't even have paper anymore. Like for that kind of money. Like I don't use paper anymore, and I don't have any money. Like what? Uh, oh my God.
yeah.
Mm.
I do use paper.
Well, I collect receipts, but only for
Yeah.
accounting purposes.
I'm still into handwritten notes and things like that. I do
There,
depend on paper.
there is value in that, like,
Mm.
and handwritten letters to a person, like a an actual handwritten piece of paper you put in an envelope and
Oh
send
yeah,
to somebody.
my girlfriend and I we send like cards back and forth and stuff, like
Yeah.
handwritten, totally old school. You know, I mean, you know, we're both in our 40s and we remember these days, of
Mhm.
course, but you know, it is very much like back in the day,
It's a
and that's cool.
tangible, it's a tangible thing. Like
Yeah,
you can like you're holding a thing that another person somewhere else handled and put together for you. Like that's really cool.
and you know, actual thought and effort and
Mm-hmm.
um individuality that you
Yeah,
don't get with typing something
exactly.
or dictating to a speech
Oh,
synthesizer that types it for you
yeah.
and says fuck instead of Home Depot.
I'd imagine there's an interesting story behind that.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Well,
The
okay.
early days of voice to text.
Oh, I remember those. Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Well, so I think we should probably wrap things
it's
up for
it's
now.
awkward when you're on your way home and you text your wife voice to text saying, "Oh, I'm going to Home Depot," and instead you tell her, "Oh, I'm going to fuck."
Yeah.
Yeah, that was took some
Oh,
splaining.
yeah. So autocorrect errors are pretty amusing. But yeah, in the moment, I could see how that could be problematic.
Fuck with no space, by
Yeah.
the way. An 8 lettered fuck. Yeah.
Hmm. I would like to dig into the algorithm behind that. Like, how did that
Something I never typed ever in my life,
happen?
much less on that phone. Auto corrected Home Depot to fuck.
How did that happen?
Yeah.
Like, oh, well, that just shows why we have
Thanks,
to be
Nokia.
Nokia. Uh, was it the 3390, 3380, the invincible phone? We should do a torture test video of that at some point. I had one of those.
Huh.
Well, anyway, I think I think it's time to wrap things
I
up.
remember 20 years ago having a cell phone cover where I could hit a button and the cover would open. Like it was almost like a Star Trek communicator. Like,
Yep. I had a similar phone that was like a flip phone and had some lights and stuff, and you could record sounds, action sounds and stuff. So opening could be a
Mhm.
sound, closing could be a sound. And I painstakingly sat there with my phone playing Star Trek sounds like the communicator opening sound and stuff like that just to get it. And it worked. I don't have that anymore.
I
We
remember that.
have the yellow LEDs all around it. Like there's planned obsolescence too. Like technically speaking, if you use a digital phone, it should still work. Like just today, I opened up Chrome and it's like, oh, you're still. It was like updating and did an update, and it's like, oh, you're still using Windows 7. Well, this is not going to be supported after a while, and I'm like, why? What? Like it's is a hammer all of a sudden obsolete because like a couple years have passed? No, the hammer hammers the nails just fine. What? Oh my god. Oh, I'm gonna get
But
all
it's
angry
it's
now.
not a hammer with this kind of sound when you hit
Yeah,
the nail.
you need this wrap around it. You have to have a yellow wrap now because, well, Cobalt is making yellow wrapped hammers. So if your hammer's not yellow wrapped, well, you can't hammer a nail now.
You see, when
The fuck?
you hit the nail with that one, it went dun 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 dun. But when you hit the hammer with or hit the nail with this hammer, it's dun 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 dun.
That's the uh what is it, Queen under pressure argument.
Vanilla Ice be like, no,
Vanilla
no, no.
Ice, yeah.
Queen was dun 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 dun, dun and mine was dun 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 dun.
It's like it's the same thing, man. It's the same thing. uh, Although, my argument would be, who cares? They're both very
Honestly, yeah,
distinctive
like
songs. Like Vanilla Ice and Queen, very different.
Queen got plenty of free advertising from that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Um, Aerosmith, Run
Oh,
DMC.
yep. Walk
You
This
would you
Way.
would never know Walk This Way if it wasn't for Run DMC. You
If
know,
you weren't already an Aerosmith fan. Yeah.
yeah. So the fact that Aerosmith gets like royalties and all this shit just to use it, like think how petty that is when you're just people like us with
Yeah.
like 2 subscribers and we want to do like a cover song. Oh, now we got to pay a bunch of money to this rich person who wrote this.
Yeah.
Like, uh, what?
Even though doing a cover is essentially
Yeah.
selling that
Yeah. We
song.
do it better, and all of a sudden they get a bump in their career. Like, oh, remember these guys?
Oh, they're
Listen to this
already.
really awesome version these guys did, and now let's go buy their album. Like,
Exactly.
what? I paid you for that?
Yeah. That's nonsense. Oh my god. Like the world is wrecked. Um
Artists actually, like, I think it should be the etiquette where artists pay people who wrote covers of their songs. I
or
would happily do that.
oh,
If
for
I
sure.
found out somebody covered something I wrote and like made it cooler, I'd be like, oh shit. Thanks, man.
At the
Like,
very least, make it available to people. Like if somebody straight rips off your song and they're like, "Oh, well, I wrote the song Phase Down by Altair." Um, like, no, you didn't. Like, I made that. Uh, like, but if somebody does a cover song or a fan video or an AMV, or they just take the song and throw it in somewhere and give credit, like the important thing is giving credit. Like, hey, this is not my song, this is their song. um Use it. I will stand by. I don't care if I'm a fucking trillionaire. I will stand by that philosophy for the rest of my life. If somebody wants to do something with something I've created, go ahead. It, like
yeah.
it can only help me, and it can only help you. Like, what's wrong with that? Why do you have to like put things in boxes and contain things and litigate and be all it's
One of the few parables that makes perfect sense from the Bible is give a man a fish, he eats for a day. Teach a man to fish, he eats for life.
yeah.
You know, putting in a little effort can help a person for the rest of their life. And what did it cost you? A little bit of time. Maybe you made a new friend. I
Yeah.
mean, like, you probably gain from putting in a little effort without getting the particular kind of recompense that you had hoped for.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Yeah.
and that's why I get on people about being like, well, tax is akin to being like, um, yeah, you're allergic to marshmallows, but I'm gonna take this here money and give you a bag of marshmallows. It's like, well, it's not really like that fucking nuts. Like,
Well, and that's a very common tactic in argument, is that people will take things to the extreme.
mhm.
Like, well, in order to illustrate my point, I'm going to make the most absurd argument possible. Like, okay, that yes, I get the point. Um, but not everything is absurd. There's a lot of mundane, everyday things that people deal with. Um, yeah, but when it comes to creative endeavors, yeah, I don't. I honestly, I did a minute microscopy about this. I would be ecstatic if somebody used something I created in their own creation as part of their creation. Like, you said, "Oh, I'm going to take this song and make a video for it." Like, dude, if you could do a better job of making a video than me, more power to you. You, you have my praise.
Yeah.
Like, go ahead. Like, I want that to be a thing. And the way things are right now, though, it's like, oh, if you just simply have like a short clip of a song or something, or you use a little bit of a video, all of a sudden, oh, now that person, they own all the stuff, even though you spent potentially days working on this thing, building this thing, crafting something, a labor of love. Maybe you're a fan of the band or something, and you put this together. Well, nope, it's their property now. Like, why? Why? I don't get it.
Actually, yeah. You know what? As a challenge to our viewers, if you look up our music videos, Tears of the Eagle, and you can make a cover of that that's like even more, like touching to the gut, like deep in your core,
Mm-hmm.
and make an even cooler video. Go do it.
Yeah.
Like like that that song like moved you to tears when you were editing the episode.
Oh my God. Yes.
And then I made a music video with a guy who actually lost somebody in 9/11,
Mm-hmm.
and it was so like epic, but it's like it's also not like, I mean, it's a very simple song,
Mm-hmm.
and it's got a nice melody, but it kind of the same melody as Du Hast by Ram, a little bit, but
you,
more beautiful. Um,
you do tend to do that sometimes. There is the Michael Jackson Thriller versus Nevermore.
Nevermore. No, Billie Jean. It was
Oh,
Billie.
Billie Jean.
Yeah,
Yeah. But even then, they're distinctly different songs. Like
Nevermore, Nevermore.
it yeah, like, but if you played those two songs to a group of people, they would be like, oh yeah, they're obviously different. Like, yeah, there's some similarities. Like, does it go doon 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 or doon 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 doon? Like, who knows? Um, but I mean, that isn't what the song is. It's not just like a bass line playing through the whole song. Like, Under Pressure is a David Bowie song. Like, it's got singing and like a bunch of different sounds, and the Vanilla Ice one is rap, and they're way different. I mean, yeah, there's commonalities, and everything is derivative. Though this is the thing, everything is derivative. Shoulders of Giants and stuff like that. We listen to music, and our music is inspired by our experiences, and that's a good thing. Like,
yeah.
we should be building better music. And
Imagine that song never came out. Would you ever know who Vanilla Ice was?
mm-hmm. Yeah,
Brian May, Freddie Mercury, David Bowie, and Vanilla Ice
yeah. Mm-hmm.
in a
Well,
collaborative effort across space and time.
oh wow, that's a beautiful way to put it. Well, in that vein, like, I can't, I honestly can't be punitive against anybody for using any of the stuff that I've created, because I mean, the stuff I've created is built on stuff that other people did. I listen to a lot of like metal and rap and stuff, and everything's kind of built around that. And so is Sir Mix-a-Lot the owner of the stuff that I've created because he was an inspiration to me when I was a kid? I, I don't know. Or do I own all of his shit now? Like, I, it. I would much rather just let it be out there. Like,
I
go ahead.
swipe big butts and I cannot lie.
I have a like a parody song of that about calculators. Oh, just wait. I'm gonna make that one at some point. Mm-hmm.
We do have a
It's
few
like,
parody songs too.
it's
Yeah.
I like big buttons and I cannot lie. You calculators can't deny.
Did you heard my God Only Knows parody, right? For COVID.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the thing, like, people should, I don't know. I don't like the idea of one person or one corporation having sole ownership of a work of art, a creation.
Yeah.
I don't think that benefits anybody except the company. So,
Even in the case of a forgery, if you never knew it was a forgery, you would still enjoy it for the exact same reasons you would enjoy the original.
Milli Vanilli, which honestly, I actually kind of like Milli Vanilli. Like, yeah, I know they were lip syncing and they got a lot of flack for that back in the day, but It was good music. And they made good videos too. Like it wasn't
Every
bad.
Top of the Pops episode was lip syncing.
Well, yeah.
Granted, they were by the bands that could actually sing it in the first place, but
Mhm.
still, you enjoyed the performance,
Yeah.
right?
It's like it you go to see a play. We all know these are actors. Like
Yeah.
they're not
Well, it's not
actually
the real
Roman soldiers.
Caligula doing that to that woman.
Yeah. They're not actually Roman soldiers sticking people with their swords and stuff like that. Like it's acting. Um so what's the problem?
Yeah.
And but the thing is, like, for me, my personal philosophy is I want everything to be open source and free to expound on or adjust, change, uh, whatever you want to do. Make a video, change the lyrics, the the music. Um, I think it should be okay to do
Yeah.
that.
Well,
And
why does the London Philharmonic do a performance of Beethoven, but Vanilla Ice was doing a cover of Queen, but it wasn't even the same fucking song? Like he wrote
yeah,
his own shit over it. Like,
mm-hmm,
okay, sampling, whatever you want to call it. Like, why are you giving it different names?
mm-hmm, yeah.
I guarantee you the London Philharmonic isn't like note for note, timbre for timbre, exactly the same as how Beethoven fucking performed it.
Well, none of the people who are performing lived back in Beethoven's
Right.
days. Like they're just looking at the sheet music. Um,
It's a cover song in my eyes,
it
right?
it really is. Yeah.
Yeah. You're a
Oh.
fucking cover band, London Philharmonic.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Hmm, I, I don't want to own anything. I like, yeah, sure, it'd be nice to make a bunch of money and stuff like that. That'd be nice. But ultimately, I have to live by my principles. And
We'll
my
never be rich as
principles,
musicians because of our values. Because the
exactly.
only way to actually do it is to like sign a contract with the devil
Mm-hmm.
in essence, and like,
Be a dick.
yeah, like have a shitty fucking corporation handling all that crap just to give you a paycheck while screwing over your fans. Like,
And they also screw the band over too. Like,
yeah,
this is the thing.
yeah,
You're
everybody
better
gets
off,
screwed. Yeah,
you're far better off being free and independent and like, okay, I wrote all the music I wrote. I created all of that. I could just freely release it. And honestly, I do. And I would say right now, it's all free. Anybody that wants to use it for whatever reason, I mean, I would like credit for that. Like, hey, just say that that was something that I did. That would be nice. But I want people to be able to build off of that and make better music. Like, should we stick to, you know, if we relegate ourselves to the corporate world, it's gonna be like a world of Mariah Carey all day long. That's all that we have because that's it. That's your Christmas music, and it's going to be Christmas music 24/7, 365 now. Um, I don't want that to happen. Like, I want people to take my ideas and make them better because I don't think I have the best ideas. I feel like I have good ideas, but not the best. Um, there's much smarter people out there and people much more creative than me. So, like,
there.
take
Yeah,
what
I
I've
mean,
done and make something better. Like, if you could take my own song and transform it into something that makes me cry, yes.
Oh,
Thumbs up
I
on that.
I did that. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah. Mm, mm.
And that's the thing too. Like, uh, there's no greater honor as an artist than to like, the imitation is flattery, the whole
Yeah.
concept, right? Like somebody taking something that means a lot to you, that was a beautiful melody to you, and giving it their own spin,
Mhm.
even if you don't like it that much or as much as your own, it's still cool.
Yeah.
Like, because I think most people can respect that, like, things can sound really cool to other people even more if it just sounds a little different. And there's nothing wrong with that.
Well, and a good example is an old song made on old synthesizers called Popcorn. Um, and it's been rebirthed and revived many, many times over. Um, Still the same do 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 do, like it, like the same tune, but reimagined in all kinds of different angles. And like all of that came from Gershon Kingsley creating this synthesizer tune by like plugging cables into things back in the 60s. And yet it's still a thing. Like today, it's still a thing. And it's ever evolving. Like I've done my own version of Popcorn. I love that song. Absolutely love it. And I didn't even know about it until a friend of mine was like, I had some kind of Amiga module file and I was playing it for him. And he's like, I know that song. Like my dad used to play a little 45 record of this. And I'm like, wait, this is not like an Amiga module file. This is like an actual song. And so I started looking up and I'm like, Gershon Kingsley. Holy shit. Like there's a whole world out there. And you start, yeah. Like, and nobody knows that guy's name, which is sad. Like he built the beginning, like he was kind of in the origin stages of synthesizers and synth pop music and stuff like that. Um, how well
Wow.
does copyright and patents and government regulations work for him? Um, I'd rather just let it go. Like, hey, go
Yeah,
ahead.
I've already forgotten his name. Gershon Dax? Was it?
That's Jadzia Dax.
Oh.
mm, mm, yeah. Oh man. Well, fuck.
This one went long.
It did, but I think we have so many seeds.
I think we went from like gay websites to breasts at some point, maybe to,
And to music and
yeah.
music ownership and stuff. I man, I would really like to do a whole episode about music and art
Oh,
and
yeah.
who owns it and like why should you own it? Um, like this is one of those things. Like I will forever stand behind my beliefs that like I would like to have I'd like to make royalties. That'd be nice to get a check in the mail every month and stuff. But I would much rather, it's more fulfilling to see people enjoying themselves and being able to share thoughts and dreams with other people and build something together. Um, it's just like corporations get in the way, and it's like, whoa, we gotta cater to the fucking people that the stockholders and stuff. Um, Gotta make profit and everything. Like, why?
Well,
Ugh.
the same feeling you get from sharing a philosophy with someone is the same feeling you get from uh, seeing someone enjoy the same melody that
Mhm.
that you came up with.
Yeah.
Um, maybe it's even a little more enjoyable then because it's like you created that. It wasn't just something you parroted,
Mm-hmm.
or maybe it was. Maybe it was something you parroted with your own little tweak to it. Like, you know
Well,
what? It would sound cooler if I did this.
and I do think things are kind of evolutionary, that we build on each other's past experiences. Um, but I don't think that because you're the first person to ever do a thing, you should have total control over that thing. No, like, take any band, any song from the last 100 years, and you could trace those songs back. There's a lineage going back hundreds of years before, to folk songs and folk melodies and things like that.
There are
There's nothing
classes
new under the
tying
sun.
Beethoven to heavy metal. Like,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
like
exactly.
college classes being like, Beethoven started heavy metal. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. This is true.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, and so does the estate of Beethoven now own all the heavy metal that has come hence? Like, how does that make any sense at all?
Yeah.
Like, sure, obviously, like, yeah, you could go back and trace things and be like, oh yeah, Beethoven's obviously influential. Certain bands are influential and things. Of course, the most influential bands are the least recognized, by the way. They're the ones that like no one knows about. Um,
It's funny, you can't really own an idea, can you?
no,
Because as soon as you let someone know that it's your idea, you've shared it freely.
that's a good point. The same thing with music. Like, you might think you own a melody or a bass line or a beat or something like that, but as soon as it's out there, people have heard it
Mm-hmm.
and they're going to be influenced by it and they're going to make
Oh,
their own version.
that's happened to me. I bet this has happened to everyone. There was a Megadeth did a song for Duke Nukem, and
Mm,
I was like,
yes.
I've thought of that riff before, and I was like, oh, but it's like they recorded it, so I guess they came up with it first. But it's like, no, I had it years ago. I came up with it first,
Not
but I'm
only
not
that,
famous enough to like get my version out there first. Like
well, so the yeah, so the Megadeth version of Duke Nukem. So the Duke Nukem album, or the soundtrack, I guess, for the game, the video game, was MIDI originally.
mhm.
So it was kind of like, I should look it up.
Yeah,
It's actually a kick-ass soundtrack for a video game. It's really good, but it's MIDI. It's not a band necessarily, but somebody had to craft that. Somebody had to put that together, the
yeah,
music. And Megadeth just did like a metal version
yeah.
of that same song
Yep.
which, by the way, is awesome.
Yeah.
Really, really kick ass. But they weren't the first to create that tune. They were just the first to be a band that performed that tune.
Yeah.
So does Megadeth own the soundtrack to you know,
And I probably
Duke Nukem?
didn't even think of the riff originally. It just became a sticking point in my head once Megadeth did it. But like, I know I had played the game before that, so I probably heard the tune and had it rattling around the back of my head and recognized it and
Yeah.
thought like, oh, that's a tune I've had in my head before. I must have come up with it.
Well, so apparently in the current regime, the way things work, like if you're the first person to perform it as a band, well, you have ownership of that. Like, I don't understand that. I absolutely don't understand that.
There are so many episodes in this episode.
Yes. Yeah, and we're kind of in that
nearing another piss break here.
Okay, so maybe it's time to kind of wrap things up, I guess, so to speak. So, I'd like to hear... Oh, wait, I kind of gave the spiel earlier. But I'd like to hear everybody's thoughts about Duke Nukem and Megadeth and their version of things, and the soundtrack and the video game and the subsequent video games, and Duke Nukem Forever, a game that never happened. Or just, I'd like to hear people's thoughts about who owns the songs we write, the stories we tell. Like, if I tell a story around a fire, is it mine, or is it owned by the person who heard the story? Maybe the person who heard the story retold it in a better way. Is it their story now?
Who owns the gay website? Gay websitees or the gay websiters?
Ooh, that's a good point. Oh, man. That's a very good point. Oh, man. Well, so I think that might be a good time to wrap up. I think.
Websitees, websiters, life goes on.
For some reason, I was thinking Teddy Ruxpin. Jesus. Just don't let the batteries run out.
Oh, yeah. Fuck me. Nightmare fuel.
Very much is.
Ruxpin.
Teddy Ruxpin.
Feed me AA batteries.
Can you and I be friends?
Walk into the light, Casey John.
Okay, well, so if you like this, we might make this thing become a toy for kids.
Teddy Fuckspin.